Okay, first off, obviously this is going to be marathon that we're going forward with, which certainly is a bigger map, but I don't know if it's that much longer a scenario. The times for the two scenarios are both listed as 2 to 3 hours, Ephesus and marathon. However, in marathon you roll for cav arriving starting on turn 4. There's a pile of cav that's going to arrive, and I got through 2 turns before we had collapse, and there aren't going to be, we'll get to it in a moment, but there aren't going to be a lot more points. The armies aren't going to be that much more solid in this. I don't think it's going to last very long. The last battle went real quick. It took less than 2 turns. Okay, well, you do play out the entire thing, supposedly, in case the route points both break, but I didn't have that worry last time. I want to get to corrections, though, because I made a major or minor error in the last time I played. The momentum chit is not an automatic chit that you get to select. You assign it to a unit, I think it has to be within range of the overall commander, and you make a roll against the capability or initiative, depending on who it is that's getting it, to see if it activates. I explained it that way in the rolls. I just forgot to play it that way because I don't know why. Maybe I'm used to some of the other Berg chit pull games that have momentum chits. But it's meant to represent the same thing as the momentum represented in the old GBOH, which was an additional chance to go with a leader. The thing is, though, here it's kind of like trumping, except it doesn't eat anything of the opponents, and there's no risk to the user. If you fail, your chit just goes away. Alright, anyway, let's jump to this battle. What's so special here? I mean, other than that it's marathon, which is about the most famous battle in this booklet, I believe. Anything else that's up there? Not that matches marathon. I mean, I don't think there is another battle in the era that matches marathon in name. Unfortunately, though, we don't know a hell of a lot about marathon. We have some pretty vague ideas, but other than Herodotus, there's very little information available at all. They claim they don't know where it is, but they have archaeological information. I'm not quite sure how that aligns. I guess the weirdest thing in it that they describe is that the Greeks basically, the hoplites did some sort of rush to the enemy. And the question there becomes, okay, well, were they armed the same way? A mile-long run, basically, or something. Is it just 1 mile? Or is it longer than that? I don't know. 1 mile. And if you're wearing, 40 pounds or more of equipment, how capable are you of doing that, to begin with? And then there become questions of, well, what's a run and what's not, and all kind of stuff like that. But this is all important to the actual design of the scenario. And they've made some decisions here. We'll see what their choices are. So the Persians are all sort of one unified command, except they have this cav command that, like I said, comes on later in the game. And their unified command is a combination of light infantry, of medium infantry and a few heavies, and some light infantry archers on the wings. And since the wings are split, I think it is just one big command. But do they have different chits? Yeah, they have different chits. How do they handle that? Okay. So they have one leader with 2 commands, is what it comes to. And they have, unfortunately, someone named Datus. And there's 2 Datus counters in the game. So the only way to tell them apart is to look at these tiny, tiny maps. And if you have a zoomable camera, You can almost see it. These are really too small to be particularly useful. We had a Datus in the other scenario, and he's just a low-level leader. I made the guess that this is the Datus they want here. Unfortunately, it's not absolutely clear because both sides don't have an overall commander here. They don't have those special abilities. But the Athenians commander, who looks about equally, no, not him, who looks about equally incompetent. That's this guy. This guy looks pretty good. Is this the famous one? Yeah. Okay. Anyway, the Athenians have like 3 commanders on the field. And how are those divided up? All 3 leaders are formation commanders for the Hoplite skirmish command. So there's 1 command here divided 3 ways, and here there's 2 commands under 1 leader. Obviously, you can see that dividing command between multiple leaders is going to work better. But it also means that there's going to only be 1 shit for the Athenians. Of course, it's all their units, which is kind of cool. Okay. Athens is going to get initiative for the first 2 turns. Leaders have a charisma rating, and it's going to be used as it would be normally. However, for personal combat, we've got all kind of new ratings for there. If I get to personal combat and I can remember that, I'll try. Okay. The run. Once per game, Athens can assign a run, and then all the Athenian hoplites can move double their movement allowance, up to 8 movement points. If they exceed their movement allowance in this manner, they get a cohesion hit. Now, I don't know how this works. Oh, this supersedes the 6.21 to 6.27, which would be nice if they told. Yeah, the whole advanced to combat rolls for them. Which guess means Athens has well-trained hoplites like the Spartans do. And even better than well-trained, they're able to unleash this hellish run. However, they get a cohesion hit once they start exceeding their movement allowance. Persian infantry units cannot do orderly withdrawal in the face of the rush. There's no drift to the right when you're making the run. Not that that happens much because you have to double move, and I forgot to do that in the last game too. When I did do a double move, in the ensuing shock combat segment, the hoplites get their +2 to shock resolution, as if they had a run from there. And the retreat edges are these 2 sides. Athens, though, is, well, it's the gaps, I think. The 2 gaps. Oh, wait, 1844 to 2644. That's this. And then, what's the other one? I don't know, it's worth checking these out. 4237. Okay, so they have this and this, but not this. And the Persians have the northeast edge, the whole edge of the board. This is a full-size map, so we're going to have a little bit more room to do things, but I don't know how much of importance there is. Victory, okay, the Athenians have 40 route points, and the Persians only have 35. And we'll get to a start. Okay, well, there's nothing too exciting to happen on the first turn, but the Greeks end up with the initiative, so they're going to move their core forces all forward in line, 4 hexes each. No reason to get those skirmishers out ahead at this point. There aren't many. There's just, I think, 3 counters of them. But then I start getting silly with the Persians. And I say, well, if I can delay the battle just a teeny bit, so I turn around backwards, move the heavy infantry or the mediums back a hex, and then turn again. And I'm just going to keep inching my way backwards. And there's no way anyone would actually do this in a battle. It's such bullshit, and I shouldn't be doing it. But my mind immediately comes to things like that when I'm given this opportunity for some maneuver, and the game allows for it, essentially. Because there's no way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, you know what? There is a way, and I'm not going to chance it. What I was going to say is there's no way that the Athenians are going to make it that far, but if I'm doing stupid shit, that run's going to happen. I'm not sure I see the point to the run. It's going to weaken my hoplites, and I don't think the cav is enough to make a difference. Even if they are enough to make a difference, I don't think they're going to make it in time for it to be a difference, whether I run or not. And essentially nothing happens. No momentums are used, other than the Greeks moving forward. And we go to a new draw for the chit. Oh, I got to roll for initiative. I forgot to do that. There's no modifiers for it. We both got 5s, so it all goes in the cup. And we start the turn. We start the next turn. There is a factor to the time cheat in this one, though, which is those cav coming in. Now, they don't automatically come in on turn 4. They get a roll on a 0 or a 1. They come in, and then each turn afterwards, they get a bonus of 1 towards that die roll. They'll come streaming in from here if they get in really lucky. We may see them, but I doubt they're going to be on the board before the game starts. Before the game's over. Again, Athenians automatically have initiative, so they're going to keep moving. I think I want to point out these couple of these central units in this scenario. Hoplites 15 and 16 are the ones are labeled as. These hoplite units are deployed at half depth. It's these two in the center. There's no rules for that. Over here, I think there might have been. I'm wondering, I thought I saw something in the simple rules that mentioned it. Yeah, the phalanxes are in reduced side for that. But there's no rules to cover those in the base game, and I don't know if they're supposed to have something to take their effect. They're lower tactical quality, which I think is what handles it. In simple great battles, lower tactical quality, the tactical quality is no longer tracked the same way. So the reduced side might be appropriate for it. Anyway, I doubt anything's going to happen much on this turn either. In terms of, I don't see burning momentum, additional quality on movement. Does it make sense? Let me think. If I run, yeah, see, I'm just thinking, if I run and I get momentum and I claim it for a command that bans the whole thing, I can do a recovery conceivably. But to me, that kind of violates the principle. Certainly, if I was using the normal move to fight thing, but I'm thinking I could probably get that double movement for free by running and then recovering, seeing as I don't have those little markers on here. I don't know how much sense that would make, though. What does make sense, though, is taking the momentum move and running. 2 quick cohesion hits is going to happen on each one, but I hit now. However, I had a prearranged withdrawal. So we get to figure out what the hell that roll does, and then we get to slam into a lot of units. Okay. So that prearranged withdrawal, and yeah, I just slipped that in there. I'm learning the rules, and it seems like the right thing. So, allows withdrawal of enemy movement. Now, hoplite units with a TQ of 6 or more in command of formation with any hoplites cannot use. Maybe I'm not allowed to use it. I don't think I'm allowed to use it. Okay. I think I'm only allowed to use an orderly withdrawal, and these guys are faster, so bang, they hit me. Oh well. So what we're going to have here, these guys are moving speed 8. That's faster than any of my Persians, so I'm just going to have to take it. But I do get to fire some bow fire on the flanks at least. And this is what it looks like just before the battle's starting. I've marked cohesion hits on all of the hoplites. They took a hit for the extra move. I don't have the little move markers on the map, you know. I often take shortcuts like that. You'll notice that the skirmishers have fallen behind. Some of these cohesion hits, 2 of them are for movement. The others are from whatever archery fire they're taking. We are going to have an individual no, we're not going to have an individual combat. We're going to have leader loss checks on all the leaders. Note that even though this guy commanded the entire line, these guys still get to move because it's their activation. They just haven't defined a command to go with themselves. They're just moving along with the command. So it's actually legal what I'm doing. Now I resolve the impact itself. After defining the attacks, almost all the Persian units had to make tactical quality checks. You can see now I've got them lined up with some values behind them as well. I'm not going to give up going into any detail at all in these battles, but since this is only the second one and this is a big name battle, I am going to take a look at the shock that happens after doing the leader loss checks. Let's take one shock here, because I haven't done a 1-on-2 type thing. The hoplite's hitting these 2 units. Now the hoplite counts double, these 2 units count single, which means that I'm not going to get a size advantage with the hoplites. The way I've got it set up, one of these hoplites is going to have to take on 3 units. It can't be this one because it's only adjacent to 2. And that one will actually be fighting at a penalty. I think I've decided somehow that it's this one, because this guy didn't do a leader combat check. So otherwise this guy takes on 2, which might not be bad. 2 light infantry. I might be able to take that on. That's better than risking a big Hoplite Phalanx. Okay, so it's Hoplite versus light infantry. I'm going to get attacker superior, which means I do double damage. Hoplite versus light means I'm on table 10. The leader gives me a +1, except that's not really his command, is it? Was it? Yeah, because I did the... only one person did the momentum roll. So he's not going to get that bonus for being a leader. He's just being pulled along this round. So I'm on table 10 without any bonuses, without any penalties, I think. That's what I see. Except for being attacker superior. 2 to 4. I take 2 hits. That puts me to a 5. I'm now within 1. I'm going to have problems because of that. And now I'm allowed to assign, what did I say? 4 hits. Now because I'm a Hoplite Phalanx, I'm allowed to assign it to 1 enemy. So I'm going to route this piece of crap and send him flying. And he'll move. He could move immediately, but it's useful for me to keep the routed units on the map for a little bit. Just to remind me what's going on. So there's no need for that because I'm at the right stage. So these guys plowed in. Now they're within 1 of their things, so they have to make a check later, but after combat check. But let's see what else happens. This guy routed away. These guys swerve in. These guys hit, and they're routing this unit, but they're also taking enough points to route themselves. That's problematic because the route, the collapse after combat, for make sure this is right. Yeah, the collapse after combat for a phalanx is going to be a chance to route, but it's not a guarantee. So he has a die roll equal to the number of hits he's incurred in excess of his TQ. That's none. And an additional 2 for attacking, which he was. So he's at +2. If he rolls higher than a 6, he does route. Otherwise, he doesn't. And he does not route. He drops down to 5, and actually he will not have to check to see if he routed due to being within 1. These guys route. These guys might route because they're within 1. I actually have to check him too. This is the normal after combat. All units with a greater difference for those with it, but instead have cohesion. If all units involved would route, compare. No, there's another step. After that, then we check for route if we have our TQ within 1. That I'll do in a moment, but I'll continue down the line for now. That means, see, I don't think advance happens yet, but I'm not sure. I know advance usually happens after each step, so I think it actually does happen here, but does it because I've got another unit in my front? Must move forward unless I think I remember something that prevents me from wheeling, and I can't find it right now, and I should be at work right now, so this is kind of a problem. And on to another attack here. This hoplite's attacking these 2 lights. Now that puts me on table 10, but because there's 2 units to my 1, I'm going to have a -2 to the die roll, but I'm still attacker superior. So there's, a lot of little factors that work in. So I end up with 2 to 4. Now, what I want to do is 1, 2, 3. I'm going to route both these units. And I take 2. Which puts me there. And those will get out of there and I'll advance. Those advances should have been done after this check here. So now we have to make checks for everyone who's within 1 of their value. And what that's going to be is if we roll lower than TQ, we remove a cohesion hit. Yeah. Otherwise, the unit will route. So we'll make a quick check on this guy here. He's got a 6. He's okay, so he's going to get a 4 underneath him. And he fought this guy, so he's also going to get an engaged marker between them, which means they can't stop fighting easily. This guy is, he's got to be adjacent to something that attacked him. It had to be like this, so he should be swung like this. Okay, So he has to make a check. I just did the advance wrong. Actually, the advance isn't done yet, because if this guy breaks, the unit gets to advance fully. This guy does not break, so he's to a 3. This swings into place, and they have an engaged marker between them. And that means the Persians are going to have to attack back when they get an activation. All right, I'll continue down the line here. And after corrections for everything going wrong, and as I try to get my damn camera to charge, you can see some big routing lines coming out of the Persian pieces. A lot of engaged units in the center here. These things look pretty bad for the Persians over here. And then the breakthrough here, this guy switched his advance hex because there was a route here. He would have had to go this way. And he's hitting into these lights here. Now he's not engaged, which means these guys can just run away. There's no zones of control or anything like that. All there is the engaged status, which forces you, if you want to get out of that, to have to take a specific order to pull away. Alright. Okay. So I had to reset the turn marker. I had moved it up to 3, thinking that we weren't going to engage, but that got fixed at this point. Now, the next action is the Persian archers. And there's a problem here, because the Persian commander is here. He's engaged in combat, so his range is not the big 8 that it was expected to be, but rather 4. And his archers are not, and these guys are engaged, so they're going to have to I don't think they can do anything, actually, because they can't even disengage. When you're out of command, you can only move or missile fire, and you can't move adjacent to an enemy unit, with an exception for the hoplites. These guys are going to probably try to get themselves out. They don't have to officially disengage, but these guys are going to move out of range. These guys are going to turn. I don't think either can fire because they're using movement points here, but they can at least position themselves so that any kind of interaction they get some kind of reaction to. I think the run is unavailable after that first attack. Yeah, it's only once during the game that it was allowed. So I got one movement where I'm allowed to do that burst of speed. So that's not going to happen again. But I definitely don't want to be here because it's just too easy for the attack. The problem is, of course, these guys have to make a tactical quality check. If they attack without moving. But if they attack with movement, they don't have to make one. So maybe I want to stay next to them. I'm not sure. But I definitely want to rotate my counter in order to engage better. What about those composites? Can I just fire at the skirmishers out at range 3? I could, but skirmishers, that would be very unlikely to actually hit. And these guys, I think, are just stuck. I can't move this guy because he's engaged. These aren't going to fight, so there's not a lot I can do here. For the final action of the turn, it's the medium infantry, which run across here for the most part. So most of these are going to have to attack the units they're engaged with, unless I want to do a disengage action. A disengage action, I don't know. Because then I pull back and I allow the hoplites to slam into me again. It just doesn't feel like it's a good idea. On the other hand, I don't really want to be fighting the hoplites because in many of these cases it's medium infantry attacking hoplites. It's going to be on a lousy table. At least I'm not defensive superior, but which is better than what I'm facing if they hit me. The heavies are okay against them as well. They don't. There's only one unit of heavies, but if I don't disengage, I could do a rally command on this line, 1, 2, 3, 4. These guys are too far away, so they're not going to rally. But these guys can rally. So I think that's what I'll do. That didn't go well. I had a couple of units I tried to rally that failed, and now I'm down to 25 route points. What I noticed was these guys are engaged in their missiles. They would have been in range, and I could have withdrawn them, but I couldn't do it if I moved these, and I think it's more important for me to move those than to try to disengage these. It may or may not have worked to disengage anyway. It's not a great chance. Now for the attacks here, what's going to happen is, for example, here a medium infantry, these light infantry are archers. They're not allowed to attack under any circumstances, even though they're engaged. So these are all not going to fight. But here the medium infantry is going to be attacking the hoplites. Now, I don't have to make any tactical quality checks for any of these because they're already engaged. But I do have to make the leader loss check for this, which I'll just do. Oop, that's bad. Let's see if we can find the rolls on that. I don't remember. I'm either wounded or I'm dead, but I don't remember what the roll for death is. It's somewhere after pre-shock, I think. Did I check that? There we go. There was not personal combat. So now I check again, and if I'm greater than leader's capability or initiative, which is a 3 for this. Okay, so he just gets a wounded mark, which may actually be worse, because that subtracts 2. There's replacement leaders that come in if somebody's killed, but they come in at the end of the turn. So now all his ratings are at -2, so he's much less valuable. However, he still does give a point to the combat, even though wounded. So medium infantry versus hoplite, like I said, that's column 4. But I'm going to be at -2 because it's 1 unit attacking 2 essentially. And that's not terribly good. And I get a 6, which isn't bad. So we each take 2 hits. And we're going to mark these like I did before. Just put it behind. Now here it's going to be kind of tough. That may have routed. I have to, I don't have enough hands to hold the camera and do that. So I'll come back. So indeed, that was enough hits, 5. This is one of those weak central units in order to route it. So now I make the check against its tactical quality because it's a hoplite. It's not hard. It's not easy to move. But that's good enough. It is going to be a routed unit, which means the Persians succeeded there. And I'll take care of that route a little later, but I've got to handle the rest of these combats before I go any further. Okay, well, we got the 1 unit routing. The other 2 hoplites would have routed, but the resilience of the hoplites prevents them from budging. So they're both within 1 of routing, but you know, that just means every time they get hit, they're going to be taking tactical quality checks. This doesn't look terribly good for the Athenians, actually. Certainly not, though, what was recorded there. Now, we're at the kind of end of turn phase, and we first handle route activities, and there's some other stuff like removing the move markers that I don't have to deal with because that doesn't really happen. But here, these guys are all going to route their full movement points trying to cross the river. Now we got to look at we haven't seen all this. I don't know if this is a stream or a minor river. It is a minor river, which means it's going to cost 2 extra movement points. It also does cohesion hits, but that's not a big deal. Once you're routed, you're already gone. So these guys have 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll say they try to cross. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're not really 3. See, they couldn't pay the 2 to get across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Assuming that's their movement. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Facing doesn't really matter when you're routed. These guys, though, have a problem. They're hoplites. I've got no chance to recover them, and they're just gone. And that's some big points lost by Athens. Hoplite Phalanx, twice the TQ, that's 10 points for them. So it's not a complete blowout at this point, right? You know, we'll see, because we got a couple of hoplite units that are really shaky, but they're hoplites, so they've got a lot of sturdiness to them. And let me just make sure I catch everything here. Rallied and moved markers, none of them. No replacements. No reloading. The only low missile is engaged. He's not going to be able to reload his forces. These guys are not engaged, interestingly enough. They were part of the fight that was going on down here. So we're going to push ahead, and we'll put these here to remind me to do an initiative roll. Here we are with, I guess, the beginning of turn 3, and we start off with an initiative roll. See who gets to play and who doesn't. Persians are going to get the first shot. I don't know what they're going to do. Remember, there's no modifiers to it in this one. With a lot of stuff routing, not much chance of doing anything about this. But I can kind of wait. I've got a couple of turns before that stuff goes off the map. Maybe I can break the Athenians before it's all gone. You know, unlike games like Men of Iron, which count your kind of disordered, routed units against you, this doesn't until they leave the map or until you try to rally them and screw them up. So the Persians opened up with their archers as their initiative bonus. This kind of got bumped. They took some shots and actually shot up this hoplite here, sending him into a rout. And then the Greeks, well, they got their base command as the next one, and they made a rally attempt on that and failed. So that's 5 more points gone. Not doubled because it's a single size unit. They're down to 25, tied with the Persians. And also a bunch of engaged units attacked, and I don't know what the hell's going on here. The things look like they got bumped pretty heavily, actually. I think these guys were heading this way. And what you can see is some routed Hoplite Phalanxes moving, but also some regular hoplites or Hoplite Phalanxes, which have succeeded in pushing aside what they were hitting. Just a mixture of results. It's not clear who's winning right now. When the Athenian momentum shit comes up, we're going to see some more interest, because we'll probably see this guy, and everybody's wounded now. This commander's not wounded. I think that's the only non-wounded commander on the field at this point. But everybody else has taken a wound. No one's been killed yet. You know, the real question is what happens when something like this, which is routing, or this, they're 12 points each. That's almost the remainder of the points that the Athenians have. Now, they have to try to rally those, because if they don't rally them, they will dissolve at the end of the turn. That's a difference. Persians can let their units rout for a while and not try to rally them, but the hoplites have to try to rally, because otherwise they'll throw away all that heavy armor. Okay, the Athenians succeeded in getting their momentum. I actually rolled this time. And then they did a rally attempt on this unit. Using this as their overall commander, they were able to trace move this guy. This guy really didn't have anywhere he could move, but he doesn't have to. He was already next to an enemy unit, so he's able to stay there without a problem. He can't engage, though. And these guys were also in command, and I swung them around to face this force. My command situation is getting pretty iffy. I'm not going to be able to rally this unit. It's going to die. And then from the rally die roll, I rolled a 4 afterwards. So I've got 2 hits on me, and I can't do that with my camera in hand. I forgot to take the wound into account when I traced range. This isn't moving. I think I took it into account when I rallied, although he didn't have much of a chance. Only on a 2 or less, but I think he did succeed. Oh well. That rally marker stays on there just to remind me I can't move or use that unit for anything else. Not that there's going to be an opportunity. Now the next draw was the Persian mediums. And my commander's over here. He doesn't have much range. He only 6 hexes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He could do a rally and grab a medium infantry. The light infantry is not going to count towards that. Or I could ignore this and try to do some hits. And I think I'll do that. Try to knock some of the hoplites out with attacks from behind, especially this one. Because if I can get another routed hoplite again, that's down to 1 route point away from victory. I'm actually launching attacks on all 3 of these Hoplite Phalanxes. All of them are from the flank, so they should all be attacker superior if I'm correct. Yes. 9.15 is an exception. That's, what is that? Yeah, the light cav can never get a positional superiority. Okay. These are all, I'm using the shock no TQ checks just because the situation is beginning to get complicated enough in terms of, it really does look like a mess. These guys might have been able to hit these skirmishers, which would have been an even more effective hit. But remember, if I get one of these guys routed, and I routed the skirmishers or destroyed them, that would give me enough points to win the game. So that seems easier than hitting 2 of the hoplite units, or hitting in particular the hoplite unit that I was discharged from. But these guys were able to withdraw. They're being attacked from behind, though. I think that gives them a cohesion hit for doing the orderly withdrawal. Let me just make sure of that. I'm not sure with skirmishers if they care. They don't get the 1. They were approached from the rear, so they get 1. Yeah. But leaving them to be hit was pretty much, giving up the 1 extra point that I need. I'll resolve those attacks. We'll see what happens. We can finish up the turn, but I think if we break a unit, that's it. The only other chip that's left is the Persian momentum. One of these units is already routed, so this was a 6-pointer, so that's 12 more points. That means, yeah, there's another unit there. That means we're 1 point away from the end of the game here. Neither of these, though, routed to the pre-shock check. I'll pull this off along with these, just because I got lots of space. But now I'm attacking here medium infantry against hoplite. That still uses the comparative weapon chart, so I'm still going to be on the lousy 4 table. But I'm attacker superior, which means the results will be doubled. So I'm on a lousy chart, but I've got some bonuses. There's a leader here, however, that gives me a -1, even though he's wounded, I think. And that sounds like it. I'm hitting a double-sized unit, so I actually drop down to the 2 table. Even though the frontage isn't there. That's kind of weird. But a big roll. 9, 8 on the 2 table, 3 to 4. Now this can take 3 very easily. It's a healthy unit. So no problem there. But what about the 4? Well, that's going to be a route there. But this is a hoplite, so it gets a check. And he'll be fine, actually. He holds up. The attack. And this would have actually been probably a clever turn, a clever impulse to try and trump in with the commander. Now, there's a problem, though. In this scenario, you can't trump in. So I did right by not doing it. And now, this could be the last attack of the game. We got a medium hitting in the rear. And that's going to be the same situation. There's no positional advantage to rear terrain. Actually, this is a medium against a hoplite. Oh, the other was too. Okay, so 4 minus 2 columns puts me to 2. I'm probably not going to do it. We'll see. I don't know how bad that is. Crappy roll. So we're each taking 4. And these guys are okay. They're at 6. Which means we're probably making a route check on these guys. 4 more, that's 8. I'm 3 over. How does this work? Figure the video's almost done here. I add 3. I was not the attacker. 4, I hold up. And I stay at my 4. So, all those kind of cool shock attacks didn't do it. We get to a momentum phase. I don't know what likelihood the Persians have of getting anywhere. We'll probably be coming back at the end of the turn. And indeed, the Persians did not get their momentum action, which means I don't know what they could have done with it. They could have done a recovery, and they had a couple of units that could have recovered. A couple of, not this one actually, 1 unit here that could have recovered strength points, or they could have done a rally to try to get this heavy medium infantry into play again. I think it's a medium, yeah. Their army's pretty hosed, but the Athenians are going to lose first, it looks like. These guys all running off the map, but they're not scored yet, and that means we're at 1 versus what, 25. So, you know, hitting one little skirmisher and knocking it off the map is going to be sufficient. And I don't see the Athenians being able to wreck the Persian army. Even if they rout it all, it's not going to be running off, it's not going to leave the map because they're not hoplites. They don't just disappear on the turn that they run. In addition, the Cav has a chance of coming in. If they come in, they come in down here and probably can't get into range to do anything yet, but they could be a serious problem as well. A couple things for this third turn. 1, the Cav is coming in. It's available, it's in the cup. And 2, the Greeks got the initiative here. Swung this unit around, but it's not able to engage because it wasn't in command when it got its orders. But these guys are both shock, must TQ because they were already adjacent. They just had to swing into position for the attack. We kind of pulled the skirmishers out of the line of fire because remember, if one of them falls, it's over. You know, basically. Get to where we are at this point. After the fight there, Persians got a momentum in which they did something. No, they failed their roll. The Athenians got their momentum and did a recovery action, gaining back some of the quality hits that they've taken, the cohesion hits. Persian Cav came on the board. Vroom. That's a serious time limit as to how long the Athenians can stay on the board. And then it was the hard choice, the medium infantry for the Persians, where it was pretty easy to charge the skirmishers forward, or light infantry forward. The skirmishers ran away from them. Same speed, but they can always back up 2 hexes. I think skirmishers can only back up 2 hexes, which are 2 movement points, which is kind of weird. And then the question was, did I want to try to rally these couple of units, or did I want to launch an attack? And I'm going to take an attack on this. Now, I've already passed the tactical quality check here. Took a hit from the archers here. But I'm just trying to knock out their last unit, basically. 1 more unit and it's over, right? Well, I can't chase down the skirmishers without the Cav. They're the only thing fast enough to catch them. But everything else, and that 2 hex withdrawal. That's sufficient because they can do it again and again and again. That was a point somebody brought up. Maybe I played that wrong in a thesis. I can never remember, but when I looked at the rules, I see his statement is definitely correct. But I have to be careful because the Athenians can start eating up these routed units. They don't have to make tactical quality checks against them. So there's a little bit of a risk there. Something like this is worth 5 quality points. I eat up a few of them and the battle's over. However, I kind of have to worry about things sneaking up behind like this. Unfortunately, this is in really bad shape, so it may not be able to do it. So let's take a look. These are mediums hitting me in the flank, so they're attacker superior. Wrong little booklet. That thing's really useful if you can remember to use it. That's something Hipshot brought up, was, there's all kind of useful information in there and it would be great to look at, but you always forget. And I always forget. But it is very helpful if you have the space to have that spread out with everything else. So we got the medium hitting the hoplites, which is normal, no superiority, but I've got the angle. But it's only on table 4. Drop it down to table 2. This is not good. There's a leader, so that drops it down to -1 on table 2. I don't know what I'm hoping for here. It puts me down to 4 on each. Now, 4 on this is going to route it, which 10, which is a 3-point route. 4 on this is only a 2-point route. So this guy routes and not this guy. This guy does take the additional hit, though, getting 1 closer to the route. Yep. I forgot to check leader loss check. I should have done that beforehand. That might have an effect. Nah, it would be the same value. And now this thing runs, and I probably should not have hit it just because these Persians really needed to recover a little bit before they get back into combat. I think there's 1 chit left, and that is going to be the Persian. Oh shit, I already did the Persian archers, essentially. I keep forgetting because the Athenians are a mixed command and the Persians are 1 commander with dual commands. I'm going to skip their action because essentially it would have taken place now. So, after the rout, we're going to take some hits there to our value, but otherwise we're on to another turn, and we'll see if the Cav can save the day for the Persian. And it's gotten real close at the end of this turn. Remember, Athenians are at 1 point, but the Persians are down to 4, which means this turn it's over, because I've got another 5-point unit jumping off the map. Letting those units run away really kind of put a crimp on things, but I didn't have a leader over to rally them. I only have 1 leader on the board, and he's not very good at anything now that he's wounded. His rally is, I believe, based on his charisma. I think that mins out at 0, but it means that he's got almost no chance of rallying forces. He could, of course, recover, but whatever. Persians opened up with the initiative roll, and they brought their archers as the most likely thing to get them points. They launched them. 1, 2, no success. Finally, the last one routed this unit. But that's not the game, because I still have to exceed the losses. So that's 12 losses there. I might be taking that many. These 2 add up to only 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it's pretty likely that unless the hoplites can, or unless the Athenians can hit one of these routed units, that's sufficient, because remember, I've already got a 3-point bonus there, and I'm 10 points to 12. I think 12. Let's see what this guy is. Yeah. So right now I'm in the lead, but I've got to maintain that through the rest of the actions. During the Athenian turn, they managed to fling one of their skirmishers after, I don't know, this big medium infantry here, and kill that using javelins to pick it off. Also positioned my hoplites slightly better position. These are weak units, though. They could fall apart on any attack. Of course, there's danger of anything that might attack them. The rally attempt, though, on the routing hoplite failed. They throw their weapons down and run, and that's gotten us to -11. I've got these flipped over, but they're not really noticeable on the other side, to -4. Now remember, there's 10 more points here, so it's right now -11 to -14. So right now the Persians are actually losing, but if they can knock out another unit, it's their game to win. And the last hit is a Persian momentum, which means it's unlikely that they're going to be able to. I've got this guy, he's got an initiative of 2. I've got my leader here who has an initiative of 1. I'm going to try with the Cav. We'll see if he gets a shot to try to do anything with his last action. He does not. That's the game. It's an Athenian victory, but only barely. And the reason it is we're going to be pulling these 10 points here off, which put us to that -14. And then this is not that fast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Doesn't quite make it off the board. It has to be not quite, as great a victory as the Athenians would have hoped for. But at least they managed to just squeak it out. Pretty exciting, actually, if you think about it. 5 turns. Didn't take a lot of time. The next one is the big one. I think we're going to go right to it rather than, yeah, that's 2 maps. Huge battle. And it's going to take me a while to set that up. I probably won't have that ready today, tomorrow morning even. Okay, up this goes.